I talked to a girl last night, or 3 nights ago now, in Crested Butte. She's moving out there to be a ski bum. Her friend tried to invite her to come with her, but she has $90,000 in student loan debt. So making $8 an hour doesn't seem like such a great idea anymore. So that's the problem. The young generation is just not, that dropout mentality isn't there because they're saddled with debt that wasn't there in previous decades. And then these guys are probably like this, the whole fame and fortune. The most ironic thing about this, as the ski bum is disappearing, the level of skiing and snowboarding has progressed to a level that's just, it's just unbelievable what people can do on skis and snowboards. So I talk a little bit about the book about the whole proliferation of ski films, magazines. Teton Gravity Research was started by a bunch of ski bums, 4 of them in Jackson. I talk about how their role in this, but also the sponsorship influence and pressure. A lot of times, yeah, I think it's great that skiers and snowboarders can get paid from doing it now, but anytime money enters the equation, things get confused. It becomes a job. We all know when things become a job, there's other various type of pressure, the fun comes out of it. I was a soccer player all the way through college, in Division I. I wanted to be a pro soccer player. Broke my leg my senior year, didn't make it, but I had many of my friends went and played pro soccer, and they said once it becomes a business, it's not nearly as fun. Okay, so I talk about this because also skiing and snowboarding is dangerous. I mean, these pros are doing stuff that when you mess up, like say on a football field, you get tackled, okay, you got a hurt shoulder. When you're standing a 70-foot cliff and doing a backflip off of it, if things go wrong, they go wrong in a very bad way. C.R. Johnson, Squaw Valley skier, one of the top skiers in the world. He died last March at Squaw Valley. He was the only guy, as a ski town journalist, I talked with tons of pro snowboarders, tons of pro skiers. Nobody would ever talk about the nefarious side, the other side, the business side of the industry. I mean, of course, you're not going to talk bad about your sponsors because they're paying you. I mean, these athletes don't get paid much from winning the contest. They get paid from their sponsors. But C.R. Johnson in 2005 had a really bad accident in Utah, went to the hospital, went into a coma, and he was finally making his comeback. Before he even got out of the hospital, saw him and cut him. Other sponsors just dropped him. I mean, this guy's sitting in a coma, not even out of the hospital yet, and he's, you can't treat human beings like this, my hope was the book would actually say, hey, these sponsors got to start taking care of their athletes more because they're not just pieces of flesh, they're human beings with feelings doing dangerous things. Some people are taking other ways that I'm calling out the industry. Cody Townsend, a big name skier, reviewed the book for ESPN.com, and he didn't agree with everything I had in the book, but I think these are good debate topics. I mean, when you're sitting around having beers or whatever, talk about what's going on in the ski industry. The level these kids are progressing is crazy. So my next clip is actually a YouTube from C.R. Johnson from 7 Sunny Days, a Matchstick Productions film from 2007, and it's documenting his comeback, but ultimately he ends up dying at last March. So I'm going to go with that right now. Hopefully the volume isn't too bad. Let's see what we got. So maybe be a little quiet because it's come out of there.
About a year ago, I sustained a traumatic brain injury and spent a month in the hospital. The first 2 weeks of that were in an induced coma. When I woke up from that, I was entirely paralyzed. All I had was the movement of my eyes. So I started by relearning how to swallow so that I could eat, and relearning how to use my vocal cords so I could speak, then relearning to use my arms and use my legs, then relearning to walk, relearning everything, literally everything. I was right where I wanted to be in life. Being one of the best skiers in the world, overly confident in your skiing, overly confident in yourself, that's where I was. And a freak accident stops that. But I'm not going to let a freak accident kill my stride. I'm not going to let it get the best of me. Right now I'm working as hard as I possibly can to return to the sport that nearly killed me last year. Being a professional skier and getting back to what I love has been my motivation the whole time.
Yeah! Yeah, buddy! Yeah. Gosh. Thanks and praise unto the Most High, King Selassie. Yeah, really gonna lie, taking it easy to get there. Okay. Woo! You can chase your wildest dreams, spin the ocean Presenting yourself, there's much to accomplish, never fail. There's new lands to explore and new mountain peaks to scale. I know that you can be just anything you want. All you gotta do is work towards it. And then there's love for each and every one. All we gotta do is get comfortable. Yeah.
Now that I myself am very fortunate for being that, I want to become the professional skier that I was. I want to become as good at skiing as I was. And get better. Only the things you truly love will you pursue with that energy. And for me, my family, my friends, and skiing, that's it for me. That's my life. The joy I get from skiing, that's worth dying for.
You can chase your wildest dreams, swim the ocean shores, sail up into the sky.
Throughout my entire process, no doctor, no therapist, my parents certainly would never let me give up on anything. And throwing tricks off of cliffs this year didn't come back to me nearly as easy as I thought it would, but it's too easy to give up on the things that are hard to accomplish. So I kept trying, and definitely keep trying until I'm able to accomplish that again. Everything that has come back to me has come back at an exponential rate, so I know it will happen. I'm confident that it will happen. It'll take a little bit of time. It's going to take a lot of effort, a lot of energy. So I'll give it that. I have to. I have to because that's what I want for my life. And what I want with my life, I'm willing to work for, and what I'm willing to work for, I'm definitely going to achieve. Well, stoked. That was so much fun. Back on the shred mesh. It's good, eh? Hell yeah. Super good. Great time.
So it's kind of, a little piece of irony again is, he says in that film how, skiing, snowboard, or skiing his family is worth dying for. But when I talked to him right before he died last March, he actually was starting to question, is skiing worth it? How I'm getting pressure and direct, indirect pressure from my sponsors. Am I doing it for the love of it anymore? Or am I doing it because I'm being pressured to do it? So for all, young guys, is all these pro skiers I talk to, they say, hey, do it because you love it. Don't do it for the money, because you're never going to get to that level if it's not, if it's not really in your heart. So that's where we're kind of at right now, is that there's a lot of young skiers out there that are doing it maybe for the fame and the fortune and not for that feeling. And I don't know how we got here from the original ski bum in the 60s, dropping out of society, dodging the draft or whatever, to where we are now. But that's basically what my book is about. And yeah, I bring up all these issues, but the reality is it's a people book. It's about interesting people in these ski towns that live very non-traditional lifestyles and their outlook on life. So it's almost a philosophy book on life too. I sent 5 queries out to agents, and one of them represents me as one of the top young selling agents. And I'm like, oh, this is easy. This is going to be no problem. And then reality struck, because all the New York City publishers just started shooting me down. And the reality, there's not a lot of ski books out there. There's guidebooks and how-tos, but not a lot of stuff on ski culture. So there's no established market. I'm a first-time author. I'm sure if John Krakauer is writing a book about ski bums, no problem. But I'm not John Krakauer. So then I went into like about a 3 to 5 year span of me just writing, contacting publishers on my own. And there's a book out there called Instant Karma. I don't know if you've heard about it, written by a guy named Wayne Sheldrake out of Colorado. And he tipped me off saying that the sports editor at the University of Nebraska Press, which is one of the better university presses around, wanted a book on skiing and ski bums. So went with him. I've been super happy. Like I said, book's been out for a couple months. My publicist has been good, got me in the Wall Street Journal. I mean, I'm doing these tours on my own. But I'm quite happy with it. But it was a struggle. I can't lie to you there. You gotta get turned down a lot. I mean, I was pretty much on my last leg. I mean, I wasn't going to go the self-publishing route. But as a writer, it's like, man, I mean, how the heck do you get published? It's hard. It's totally hard. So it was about 5 years. From when I started, got my agent, lost my agent, to when I actually got turned into manuscript and had a publishing contract for about 5 years. Yeah. with a lot of traveling to South America and messing around in between. Because we don't have a deadline to, you know, to meet. You can procrastinate pretty easily. It's kind of funny because in the first chapter I profiled this guy named Johnny Davis out of Crested Butte. And I met him, I was on the train in Portland doing research come back from the library, like how to write a book proposal, that kind of junk. And this girl sits next to me and strikes up a conversation, asks what I'm doing, I get into it. She goes, oh my God, my uncle was the biggest ski bum. And I was like, yeah, I mean, we all hear these stories, you know. So like, I was nice to her, and she goes, no, he's actually in Portland this weekend for a family funeral, you should talk to him. So then he calls me up that night at work, and like we meet the next morning and talk for like 3 hours, and the guy is just an amazing character. So that's, I mean, I would get people like that way, just friends of friends or whatever. You know, living in Lake Tahoe, you know, you're around Mammoth, Squaw Valley, big time skiers, so, you know, you get a lot of name dropping that way. But then sometimes I would just go into a bar in a town and just drink a little bit, and, you know, every time you have a notepad, you kind of look suspicious. So people start asking, what are you doing, you know, and then I just say, I'm just taking notes, writing a book about ski bums, and, oh my God, you should talk to my neighbor. So, I mean, really it was like that. I mean, here in Telluride, you know, there's a guy named Jack Carey that's a well-known character. He's talked about in this 5th chapter. I got his kind of information, sat down with him for a while through Tom Watkinson, through the marketing department. So I mean, they would, you know, a lot of these people that work for the ski industry now are former ski bums, and so they know a lot of people, you know, in the culture. So that's how I got to know Jack a little bit, and we all know kind of what happened with him. And then Hugh Sawyer is another guy that's mentioned in the book here in Telluride. So I mean, it's not like a who's who, and I think that's the key. Is the ski bum necessarily? Yeah, they're obviously gonna be awesome skiers, but not the most world famous. But of course, by the end of the book, I do talk about the ski films, and you know, there are some big name people that are mentioned. But for the most part, I try to go for the guy that just sits behind the bar, you know. And for me, I always had like an affinity toward people that maybe like CR had something bad happen to him. I had a stroke when I was young, so there was a connection. Johnny, the guy from Crested Butte, dealt with alcoholism his whole life. And my brother's been an alcoholic drug abuser for his whole life, battling that. So like, sometimes I would just have connections with some of the people I talk to. So, you know, usually, you know, if you have a good story, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I have thousands, hundreds of thousands of words of people I talk to that I couldn't get them in the book, but they have, you know, good things to say.